Level 1, $30,000. You are 25 years old. You earn $2,500 a month before taxes. After taxes, it is closer to $2,100. You run the numbers constantly, in line at the store, at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling. And they never add up, because you are always the one who comes up short. Your rent is $950 for a one-bedroom that is technically a studio with a wall a landlord added because the wall was worth $200 a month to him. Utilities are $140 in summer, $190 in winter, because the windows do not seal and the heat escapes into a parking lot you can see from your kitchen. Your phone is $75. Your car insurance is $130. Not because you are a bad driver, but because your credit score is 640 and your zip code is the one the actuarial tables flag. Gas is $160. Groceries are $280. Rice, beans, chicken thighs, nothing organic, nothing branded, nothing over $4, because $4 times 7 days times 4 weeks is math. You do in the aisle holding 2 cans of the same thing. You have $175 left for everything else. Your medication, a dental cleaning postponed 14 months, the nephew's birthday present from the clearance rack. You do not have an emergency fund. The emergency fund is a concept that belongs to people who have $175 left after their needs instead of before them. One car repair, a transmission, a timing belt, a set of tires, is not an inconvenience. It is a cascade. The repair goes on a credit card at 27.99% APR. The minimum payment eats the $175. The next emergency goes on a second card. You have not checked your credit score in 8 months because checking it would mean admitting you are losing a game that was rigged before you sat down to play. At this level, you are not lazy, and you are not bad with money. You are working full-time, and the cost of simply existing exceeds what your labor is worth, and the gap between those two numbers is the gap you fall into every month, silently while staring at a ceiling that belongs to a landlord who has never once asked if you are okay. Level 2, $50,000. You are 29. You earn $4,100 a month before taxes. After taxes, you take home roughly $3,400. You have crossed a line. Not a dramatic one, not a line anyone congratulates you for crossing, but a line nonetheless. You are not constantly short. Your rent is $1,350. You live alone now. Not in a studio with a wall, but in an actual one-bedroom with a dishwasher that works and a landlord who answers texts within 48 hours. Your car is a 2018 Honda Civic with 78,000 miles and a $290 loan payment. You go to the grocery store and you do not calculate the price of every single item before it goes in the cart. You buy name-brand cereal occasionally, order takeout on Fridays, and forget to cancel one streaming service before starting the next. You have $600 left at the end of the month, sometimes $800 if nothing went wrong. You put $300 of it into a savings account labeled emergency fund, and you watch the number climb. $900, $1,700, $2,900, $4,100. It takes you 11 months to reach $4,100. Then your car needs a timing belt and a water pump. The quote is $2,800. You pay it from the emergency fund. 4 months of saving erased in a single repair. The fund rebuilds. $800, $1,600, $2,500, and then a dental crown costs $1,900 after insurance. Rebuild, erase, rebuild, erase. This is the treadmill. You are saving, genuinely saving, but the emergencies arrive at roughly the same speed as the savings, and the net result is that you have stayed at the same level of security for 6 years without moving. At this level, you are not struggling, and you are not thriving. You are maintained, Comfortable enough not to panic, tight enough not to relax, aware enough of the math to know that one bad year can erase 3 good ones, and the bad year does not announce itself before it arrives. Level 3, $75,000. You are 33. You earn $6,250 a month before taxes. After taxes and benefits, roughly $4,900. You have probably heard that happiness plateaus around $75,000 a year. A famous 2010 study. Later research complicated it. For a lot of people, more money keeps adding to day-to-day well-being well past that number. But the everyday version of enough is real. And around here is where many people first feel it. What enough feels like. You do not check your bank account before buying groceries. You fill the tank without calculating the total. When a friend invites you to a wedding in another city, you say yes without first opening a spreadsheet. The flight is $340. The hotel is $220. You book both in one sitting and you do not feel sick afterward. You contribute 8% to your 401k. Your employer matches 4%. The account grows roughly $11,000 a year. You are not wealthy, not close, but you can see how someone on your trajectory might get there. The trap at this level is not poverty. It is lifestyle creep, and at $75,000, it is stealthy. It does not arrive as a sports car. It arrives as a slightly nicer apartment, organic produce, the gym with the sauna, the meal kit service that costs $320 a month, more than the ingredients. None of these individually is irresponsible. Together, they quietly consume the surplus that was supposed to become wealth, and the surplus disappears so quietly you do not notice until you look at your savings and realize it has not moved in 18 months. At this level, you have escaped the math that never adds up. You have not escaped the math that compounds silently, and compound math, working against you, is as patient as the version that works for you. Level 4, $100,000. You are 37. You earn $8,333 a month before taxes. After taxes, roughly $6,100. You have hit the number everyone talks about, 6 figures. You remember when $100,000 sounded like the number that would solve everything. It did not. It solved one set of problems and handed you a new set. Nobody at $30,000 warns you about. Your mortgage is $2,100. You bought a house, 3 bedrooms, a yard, a school district you researched for 6 months, with a $28,000 down payment that took 5 years to accumulate. Your car is a 2023 Toyota RAV4 with a $490 payment. Your student loans are $380 a month for another 7 years. You have 2 children, and childcare costs $1,400 a month, more than your mortgage, or close enough that the comparison makes you dizzy if you think about it too long. After the fixed expenses and maxing your 401k, you have roughly $1,500 a month that is not already spoken for. You save some and spend some on the kids' activities and 1 beach rental vacation a year, not a resort, because you still check the price before booking. At this level, you are solidly middle class, which means you are doing better than roughly 80% of Americans, but you do not feel rich. Because rich from where you sit looks like private school and a vacation home and a portfolio that generates income instead of waiting for the next paycheck. You are comfortable, and you are aware that comfortable is not the same as secure. And security at this income is still a decade away if you make every decision correctly starting now. The people above you are playing a different game. You cannot see the rules yet, but you can feel in the gap between $6,100 and the number you would need to stop checking your account entirely that there is another tier, and it is not close. Level 5, $250,000. You are 43. Your household income is $250,000, $20,833 a month before taxes, roughly $14,500 after. You are in the top 5% of American households, and the word comfortable no longer applies. The applicable word is optional. At this income, your fixed expenses consume roughly 55% of your take-home pay, which means 45% is discretionary, about $6,500 a month. You do not have to spend it. You can invest it. And that is the crossover. You are now investing more per month than the person at $50,000 earns in total. The investments compound, the returns get reinvested, and the spiral, once it finally turns in your direction, accelerates faster than you expected. You have a taxable brokerage account that holds more money than your parents' entire net worth at your age. You have 529 plans for the children, term life, an umbrella policy, and an estate plan you signed one afternoon and filed in a drawer you hope never to open. At this level, you experience something people at lower incomes rarely discuss. You stop being scared of emergencies. The emergency fund is not a number you track. It is a stack of layers, checking, savings, brokerage, a home equity line you have never used, and any emergency penetrates only the first, maybe the second. The rest sits there, growing, waiting for a disaster large enough to reach it. This is what financial security actually feels like. Not wealth, you're not wealthy yet, but security. The quiet knowledge that almost nothing short of a prolonged catastrophe can knock you off the path. The path is wide now. The math works. The only thing you have to do is not blow it up. Level 6, $500,000. You are 48. Your household income is $500,000. $41,666 a month before taxes, roughly $27,000 after. You are in the top 1% of American households by income, and you have crossed a line that does not have a name but should. Above it, time is worth more than money, and you start spending money to buy back time at a rate that would have seemed insane to you at any earlier level. You have a house cleaner, a nanny, instead of daycare because the flexibility is worth the premium, a landscaping service, a meal delivery service, and a part-time assistant who handles the administrative clutter you would otherwise never get to. Your portfolio generates roughly $40,000 to $60,000 a year on average, more than the median American household earns from working. This is the inversion beginning. At $30,000, your body generated all your income. Here, your assets generate a growing share, and eventually they will replace your labor entirely. You still work a lot. Jobs that pay $500,000 pay it for 60 hours for the 9:14 p.m. Saturday call you take because the deal closes Monday. The money buys back time, but the job consumes it. You have more control over which hours you lose than the person at $50,000, but you still lose them, and they are gone forever. At this level, you are wealthy by any reasonable definition, and also aware, maybe for the first time, that $500,000 is not the top. The top is so far above you that you cannot see it, but you can see the next step, $1 million, and it is closer than ever. Level 7, $1 million. You are 54. Your income is $1 million a year. Your net worth is above $5 million. The numbers have fully inverted. Your money now makes more annually than most of the people you grew up with will earn in their entire working lives. You do not check your bank account, not because you are careless, but because the balance moves within a band so wide that checking it would be noise, not signal. Your financial life is run by people you pay, an accountant, a wealth manager, an estate attorney, who present 12-page reports you skim for the summary. Your $2.4 million home is paid off. You own a second place you use a few weeks a year. Your children will graduate with no debt. Your parents' assisted living is covered. Your charitable giving runs through a donor-advised fund seeded with appreciated stock. The tax code at this income is no longer something that happens to you. It is something you plan around and done correctly. Your effective rate is sometimes lower than the rate paid by someone earning $100,000. Here is what nobody tells you about this level. The money stops being about things and becomes about control over your time, your health. What happens to the people you love? You can absorb any medical event, survive any job loss, or stop working entirely and live off the portfolio. This is financial independence, the real definition, not the version printed on mugs. The point where labor becomes optional. And somewhere above you, at $5 million, $10 million, $25 million, are people who have not checked a price tag in decades, whose wealth will outlive them by generations. The distance between $1 million and $25 million is larger than the distance between $30,000 and $1 million. And seen from the bottom, that distance is the thing that makes people stop believing the climb is even possible. So here is the part the salary numbers hide. The thing that actually decides which level you live at, and it is not the size of your paycheck. Every level you just watched, the leap was never really earn more. It was own more of the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The $30,000 earner and the $100,000 earner can both end a year with nothing, because a raise that gets entirely spent changes your lifestyle, not your freedom. So you do the unglamorous thing first. You protect the gap. You build a cash cushion so a transmission stops being a cascade. Then you refuse to let lifestyle creep eat every raise. You keep your costs flat while your income climbs, and you shovel the difference into the only thing that ever moves you up this ladder for real: ownership. Not a bigger salary you have to keep showing up for, but assets you actually own: a stake in a business, a property that collects rent, equity that grows and pays you whether or not your alarm goes off at 6:47. Because the real line in this whole video is not between $30,000 and $1 million. It is the line where what you own starts earning more than what you earn, the moment your money clocks in, so that one day you do not have to. That line is not reserved for the top. It is built slowly by everyone who decides to own the gap instead of spend it. The same 6:47 a.m., the same alarm, the same city. At $30,000, you calculate the cost of the day before your feet touch the floor. The repair is coming, the card is due, and the math is the last thing you think about at night, and the first when the alarm goes off. At $75,000, you wake up fine, genuinely fine, and you do not think about money until a bill comes in slightly higher than expected, and you pay it and move on. At $250,000, the money is not the thought. The thought is the time, and whether you are buying the life you actually want or the one you were sold. At $1 million, the money already made money while you slept, and you will not check it until the quarterly meeting, and the number will have moved one way or the other, and neither direction changes what you do today. The same hour, the same city, the same body getting out of bed. The only variable that ever decides which version of the day you live is not just the number attached to your labor. It is how much of that number you turned into something you own, something that keeps earning after the alarm goes silent. The paycheck is what you make. What you build now and keep and own is the part that is yours. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.